everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the DC Comics Superhero Collection by Eaglemoss. I'm your host, MonkeyBoy, aka J to his friends, and today we have another special edition figure for you, number 3, Bane. This figure, I'm sort of mixed about. I'll get into that more when I actually get to the figure review. Suffice it to say, it's a very nice figure. I just don't know if it's totally worthy of being a special edition necessarily. Also, I thought real quick I'd address the whole Bane issue with the new movie Dark Knight Rises and the criticism about the look of the character. I think it's going to be fantastic. At least they're portraying the character properly. He's not the big, stupid, monosyllabic thing that they put in that Batman and Robin movie, lest we forget that thing. That's way worse than anything I've seen from Christopher Nolan so far. I can't wait to see what he does with the character, as a matter of fact. Also, let's not forget the many different interpretations of the character from the different animated venues, the original animated series, and then the 4th season of the animated series when it stopped being on WB and switched to Fox, or stopped being on Fox and switched to WB, or whatever. And then, of course, the Batman animated show as well. He's seen so many different interpretations. And this figurine is actually sort of a blending of a few of them. It mostly looks like the original version of the character, but the mask is a little bit different, the gloves are a little different. Anyway, we will first look at the magazine for the special edition figure, giving you everything you need to know about the character and probably a few things you didn't know. And then we'll take a look at the figure itself and give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Again, one of my favorite characters, very excited to do this figure. Let's dive right in to the DC Comics Superhero Collection Special Edition figure number 3, Bane. First up, the character section. It's here that we learn Bane's father was a criminal in Puerto Rico who was sentenced to a life term in prison there, but fled the country before he could be arrested, so local law enforcement arrested his wife and son instead and imprisoned them. So Bane actually grew up inside of a prison. Bane soon became the top dog at this prison, which gained him some attention from some scientists who were doing experimental research on new bioweapons and that sort of thing. So he became a guinea pig for these scientists to use. So Bane came to Gotham City hell-bent on bringing Batman down, eager to prove himself, and he used every trick in the book against Batman. Psychological warfare, he tore down the walls of Arkham and set loose all these villains on him and wore him down physically and mentally, even attacking Batman inside the Batcave. Of course, everyone knows how that ended up with Bane eventually breaking Batman's back. After suffering defeat at the hands of Azrael, Bane sort of regrouped and decided to try and track down his long-lost father, and he teamed up with some other villains along the way. We also learn Bane has encountered heroes other than Batman, including members of the Justice League and the Justice Society of America. There even came a point in time where Bane returned to Gotham City, this time seeking Batman's help in tracking down his long-lost father. We also see Bane and Batman teaming up after Batman encountered a street gang in Gotham using Venom. Next up is Bane's classic storylines, and he's special. He gets 5 to choose from. First up, we have his most famous, Batman Nightfall. And this is the story that introduced Bane into the DC universe. It showed him to be a calculative, cold, manipulating type of villain who was also extremely powerful. It introduced the concept of Venom, the character of Azrael, and of course saw Bane temporarily paralyzing the Batman. Next, we have Batman, Vengeance of Bane. And this is Bane's origin story. This revealed that he grew up inside of a prison, that he was not only super strong, but extremely intelligent, and that he was haunted by nightmares of these bat-like creatures, which explains his deep-seated hatred for Batman. Next up, the story entitled Tabula Rasa. And this story actually makes you sympathize with Bane. It finds him coming to Batman, begging for Batman's help in finding his long-lost father, and at one point in time, even thinking that he and Bruce Wayne may be siblings, that they may share the same father. It's a skillfully written and beautifully illustrated story. Next, we have the story entitled Veritas Liberat. And this more or less picks up after the events of Tabula Rasa. We still don't know who Bane's father is, so this one continues that story where he actually tracks down his father, only to find he's an older supervillain known as King Snake, who's just a cruel, ruthless, heartless villain. Batman tracks him down as well, and the two fight side by side to stop this evil guy, with Bane actually almost dying, and Batman saving him in a Lazarus pit. And finally, we have Batman, Vengeance of Bane, Part 2. This story opens with Bane back in prison. He's suffering withdrawals from not having Venom, only to find these inmates coming in are suffering the same withdrawals. He learns that Venom's on the streets and bulks up. He goes to the gym, he brings himself to peak physical condition, breaks out of prison, and starts going through Gotham City, stopping these gangs, running into Batman in the process. And Batman actually sort of lets him escape in the end. Bane claiming that he's turned over a new leaf and actually wants to stop these thugs and stop Venom in its tracks. It's actually a pretty cool story. Next, we have some of Bane's friends and foes, and on the front page, of course, the dynamic duo. The next couple pages are a mix of friend and foe, with a picture of his daddy in the corner there, King Snake. Bane doesn't get an iconography section, so we skip straight to the original thinking section this time, and it features Bane's crew. And this section just talks a little bit more in depth about the other cons from the Santa Presca prison who helped Bane make his prison escape. They all came to Gotham and helped him prepare the whole Nightfall scenario against Batman, and it just talks a little bit more about each one of them individually. The man who broke the bat, Bane. Okay, this is a difficult one for me because I love this character. I really, really do. I think he's fascinating. I can't wait to see what Christopher Nolan does with this character in The Dark Knight Rises. I think it's going to be really brilliant. And as you can see from this particular figure, they kind of adopted an amalgamation of the various looks of Bane. He looks like the classic version. But as you can see, he has very little white on the mask, just the red eyes and the white around that, and really nothing else. It's that deep, deep navy blue. But then the rest of the outfit is very, very old school, very traditional. Love the wash on the navy, that black wash, so you can see all his muscles rippling and defined. Love how the spandex suit is kind of straining around the muscles, and it's kind of hard to tell here. You'll see it better in the better pictures, but he's got veins popping in his arms and his chest. Love the cowl. They kind of borrowed that from the whole Doomsday look as well. And the cord with the venom running from his wrist all the way up his neck into the back of his head, or up from his wrist to the back of his neck there, right into the base of his skull, to pump right into his brain. Really nice details. All that being said, the things I do like, it doesn't really feel like a special edition figure. He's not really all that large by comparison, and I mean even the base is one of the standard size bases. He's not on one of the larger bases, and he's not that much bigger, he's not that much taller, and he's not that much more detailed. I have a hard time justifying this as a special edition. I mean, yeah, he's a great character, he's a big character, but you know, if they were going to include him in the special editions, he should have been even larger than this, you know, like something out of the Dark Knight series of comic books, you know, that exaggerated look where veins are just a-popping and he's drooling, and I don't know. I have a hard time justifying this as a special edition. I like it, but yeah, not necessarily special edition. As I've said over and over, better pictures here in just a second. Bane stands atop the classic DC logo, and the underside of the base features his name in a couple different languages, along with the serial number for the character. Also, just to show you what I mean when I say he's not as big as the other special editions, here he is with special editions 1 and 2, Darkseid and Doomsday. And you can see he's not nearly as big. Also, a quick shot with some of the other villains in Batman's Rogues Gallery. And of course, a couple quick shots with Batman himself. Now, let me be clear, just in case I'm not. I really like this figure. I really, really do. I just have a problem classifying it as a special edition figure. You know, I didn't cover the packaging this issue because, again, like Doomsday before him, he didn't come in any sort of special packaging. It was a slightly darker box, but there was no slipcase. His base is a standard size base. He's really not that big when you compare him to the other figures in the line. Sure, he's bigger than Joker and Two-Face and Riddler, but he should be. He's really not much larger than Batman. Really, you know, he's almost as big as Martian Manhunter. So I have a problem classifying him as a special edition, also because while he's very detailed, he's not as detailed as Doomsday, nor is he as detailed as, like, Two-Face, Joker, Riddler, those guys in that other group shot. It's just, you know, he's a great figure. I just don't know that he should have been a special edition figure necessarily. But that's, I mean, not to say he's not gorgeous. There's a lot of nice things on him. The veins popping, the pose is great. I love that he's holding the cowl. I love that there's the cord from the back of his neck all the way down the back of his arm, and he's got that armband there to hold it. It's very realistic looking, and that it goes all the way to that little connection on his wrist, and the fact that they detailed that little gizmo on his wrist is great as well. I also like the fact that they have the cable actually up off his shoulder, that it's a separate piece. That's really, really nice. Same thing with the cloak that he's holding, Batman's cowl cloak. You know, it's a separate piece, it's not attached. And that too is really nicely detailed. You know, the paint, the application, the execution, The color scheme, love the whoosh on that deep navy blue of his tights. You know, it's got the shading in there, so it's almost like a blackish navy blue. It's really cool. I love the wrestling boots he's wearing with the stitching up the back and the way it's laced in the front all proper like a wrestler would. It's perfect for Bane. He's meticulous that way. The mask is great. The musculature, the veins, as I've said, everything really nicely detailed overall. The bad, you know, he's just not very large. He just doesn't classify as a special edition for me. That's all. You know, that's the only bad. A little bit of bleeding here and there, but nothing major. And let me be specific. While I'm complaining about him not being large enough, I mean, he's not large enough to classify as a special edition figure in my book. He is to scale with the other figures in the line, with Batman, with the way he is generally portrayed in the comic books. He's just not large enough as far as, you know, classifying as a special edition figure for me, but he is to scale. The ugly, have to be careful of that cord that I mentioned. That can bend and break pretty easily. You really want to be careful of that. Otherwise, it's a pretty solid figure. Even the cloak and cowl, it's pretty thick on the inside there. Yeah, overall, very pleased with this figure. I think it's really nicely detailed for the most part. I don't think it's worthy of being a special edition figure, but hey, that's me. I'm kind of picky that way. But overall, very, very happy with Bane. Faithful interpretation of the character. Love the way, you know, he kind of stares down Batman if you pose those two side by side. Really, really cool to have him in this line. And, you know, while I don't think he's a special edition figure necessarily, it's still really great to have him. Anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed this review. I was very happy to bring it to you. Stay tuned for a quick teaser of the next figure. We'll be going back to the regular figures in the line with issue number 25. It's another Batman villain. I'm not going to say who because, again, it's another one I don't think anyone really sees coming. I don't think most people think of this character at all, although he was one of the villains in the Arkham City game. So, yeah. Anyway, stay tuned for that real quick. Thank you once again for tuning in. I am your host, the MonkeyBoy, a.k.a. Jay to his friends. See you next issue.